Welcome to the session, Cognitive Diversity for Innovation, the critical role of neurodiversity in development. I am delighted to have you here today. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat. With that, I will hand it over to Adina Cristocea.
All right, thank you, and hello, everybody. It's so good to be here. Neurodiversity is a topic that is deeply personal and deeply important for me. And
we can hear you. It was... I asked the other ones, do you hear Frau Cristocea? You can answer on the chat. No, me neither. The audio wasn't working.
how about now?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
This is a bit better.
Yes.
Well, I'm. Thank you. There you go. I'm used to chaos, so this is going to be a very nice session, I'm sure. Let me see. My name is Adina Cristocea, and I talk about neurodiversity. This is a topic that's really important for me for personal and professional reasons. And I'm also a user of technology, and that's also an interest of mine. And I'll tell you a few things about how I see the world through the eyes of someone who's neurodivergent and who works with people who are neurodivergent. I do have ADHD, obviously, I'm trying to, there you go, I'm sorry. So things don't run smoothly for me. I won't maybe look professional this whole time, but yeah, this is an explanation, not an excuse. I am a peer counselor for neurodiversity and a participation counselor at EUTB in Erding, Bayern. I do work with people with disabilities as a peer counselor, and I have a background in public relations, in social communication. I have master's degrees in organizational psychology, in psychology of excellence, that would be the psychology of the gifted, in diversity, equity, inclusion, and social justice training. And I had, I don't know, maybe 14 or more jobs in my life. That's very, very typical for ADHD. And maybe I can give you an insight on what's important for us and what might be important for you and for everybody. First of all, most of you would have heard the term neurodiversity. It's the natural variation of human brain function. It's a different way of thinking, basically. These conditions like autism, ADHD, dyslexia, dyscalculia, dyspraxia, or giftedness, they all have to do with brains that work differently. It's about atypical patterns of connectivity between brain regions involved with things like social interaction, attention regulation, language, sensory processing, executive function, and a significant deviation from the norm that's necessary for a diagnosis that can go in any direction. So it's a spectrum, they like to say. It's really like that, and that means there might be gaps in skills. People who are neurodiverse may excel in some areas and significantly underperform in others. And we spend our lives trying to compensate for those gaps, trying to be more like the average neurotypical people around us. And this takes a lot of energy. Sometimes where the expectations are really high, this is what will make us sick. Again, the level of energy that we need just to function will make us sometimes miss developing our strengths and our potential. And I'm here to talk about ways of, well, fixing that, hopefully. Neurodiverse people have a different way of processing. You can imagine you might have heard of top-down thinking and of bottom-up thinking. Top-down thinking, that's typical for, well, almost everybody. People who create a big picture first and then fill in the details as they go, fill the gaps. The brain will try to save energy. Neurodiverse people, they display rather bottom-up thinking. They collect information, they collect details, they believe to be related, and then later sort out into a meaningful big picture. That means some people would see a forest, and then notice the trees. I would, for example, see every single tree and every single leaf and take in all the details and then infer, well, this must be a forest. And seeing all those details at the same time, all of the time, that takes, again, a lot of energy. But that might mean I notice things that other people don't notice. Again, to my favorite subject, I was diagnosed as an adult with ADHD. As a child, I was thought to be gifted. Later, found out it was only ADHD. And I can tell you there's nothing worse for a neurodiverse child than to be assessed as highly intelligent and then have parents who do not understand neurodiversity. The amount of pressure is enormous and the mental health problems are programmed. Fortunately, that was not necessarily my case, but I know many, many people who live with that and who struggle, who are constantly on survival mode. The question is neurodiversity a disability or not? In Germany, everywhere else, it is considered a disability. You can get a certificate for that if you want. I do counsel people on that. But we see it more like a mismatch, and not something that is an individual problem, but rather something that's a problem of the environment. It's said, for example, that trauma and autism characteristics are so different, are so difficult to tell apart, because our society has not produced an autist who has not been exposed to trauma. It is difficult to be different. And trying to fix or heal neurodiverse individual will also erase their strengths. An estimated percent of 15 to 20% of the world population is considered to be neurodiverse, by the way, so there's a lot of us. 40% of the world's greatest innovators and entrepreneurs are dyslexic, for example. Many neurodivergent people experience exclusion, discrimination, damaging stereotyping within the workplace. Excluding neurodiverse people mean their voices are not representing in the development of products and solution, and they're not representing in teams in a workplace. One way to fix that, the history has shown, if you want, it's the so-called inclusive designs. Many things started with addressing the needs of excluded users. So I talk generally about disability now. And then they ended by benefiting everyone. One example for some of you who still use a keyboard is the typewriter that was developed to address the needs of a blind woman who didn't want to dictate her love letters, and she wanted to write them herself. And so it was originally designed for someone who was blind, and now is it led to something like keyboards, for example. Things like automated captioning. I do have an auditive processing disorder, and I cannot follow a movie if I don't have subtitles. It just doesn't work, and I'm really grateful for those, for example. Voice recognition software, speech-to-text tools, noise canceling headphones. As many of us have has very, very high sensory sensitivities, everybody is happy to have a bit of quiet sometimes, but for us it's essential. Mind mapping tools, visual scheduling apps, timers. All those things are good example for what we can create if we take into consideration the needs of people who are different and how we can all benefit from those. So we're getting now to the actual topic today. How can we maximize innovation, especially in the field of technology? And I will argue that there are three elements that will maximize innovation in an organization: luck, neurodivergence, and entertainment. Luck, by that I mean being at the right place at the right time, the place where opportunity means initiative. Divergent thinking, and being free from survival and social constraints. Let me see. I often spend time in neurodiverse self-help groups, and there people very often ask, is there a book that I could read so that I learn not to feel and act like an alien, which is something that we all kind of need to deal with. And some books that are recommended there in these groups show that people are interested in theories about consciousness, about time, about the dynamics at play in our relationship, or the common patterns of storytelling. One book that I recently read, and I found it interesting, and it resonates deeply with the neurodiverse communities, is The Hacker Ethic and the Spirit of the Information Age. It highlights the role of creativity and collaboration in technology. Let me see. And there, by the way, by hacker, in the hacker ethic, a hacker is defined as an enthusiastic programmer who share their work with others in a spirit of openness and cooperation. And there is a theory of motivation in there, in the prologue, which says that progress is a matter of going through the full phase change from survival to social life to entertainment, and that these are the things that motivate us generally. I don't need to explain how survival is important. I will say that most neurodiverse people do actually live all of the time in survival mode, and that is the problem. Why they cannot use their strength for progress, yeah, and for innovation. Social life. This is the question: what will you do to belong? And then there's entertainment. Neurodiverse people are known to experience special interests, hyperfocus, the strong urge for intrinsically interesting and challenging things. It's the level where they operate best. Like if you think about the best developers you know, if you think of your younger selves, about your younger selves, when they are at their best? It's when they are working projects that make a difference and when they had fun doing it. So entertainment with capital E, you can also call it passion. And the book also asks the questions, how about money? Is it motivational? It can buy things that we really care about, and it's usually easy to buy survival, but more difficult to buy happiness, social ties, and entertainment, especially the kind that gives your life meaning. So keep those three ideas in mind, and let me take you to the topic of luck. 2003, you might know the experiment. Self-identifies lucky and unlucky participants. They were shown newspaper that has to count the pictures in it. Page 2, at the top of the second page, a half-page message in type that was over 2 inches tall, so 5 centimeters, pretty big, said stop counting. There are 43 photographs in these newspapers. A bit further in the newspaper, there was another message, quite big, stop counting, tell the experiment you have seen this ad and win $250. And the self-identified unlucky group averaged 2 minutes to complete a task, and the lucky group just seconds. Ask yourself, how would you have done it? Would you have counted everything? Would you have maybe noticed the message? We can make here an exercise and imagine how neurodiverse people would have would have go about those tasks. Artists may have counted them all, but they would have also noticed the differences. They would have asked themselves, what's the rule here? Should I talk about it? Should I not? But they would have probably noticed it. I can tell you, for myself, I would have been bored. Like I wouldn't have even started counted. I would have found or looked for a way to make the task easier and just skim for it. And I would have probably noticed it. I do consider myself a lucky person. And the rules would not have bothered me that much. People with dyspraxia, that has to do with how with differences in sensory processing and in fine motoric, they would have probably taken the newspaper, handled it in some way. And people with dyslexia, we can imagine they would have processed it also differently. Like, I don't know, they would have seen it all probably, or they would have noticed a pattern. What does it mean for the tasks that we meet in everyday lives? If you ask a computer to count pictures, it will count pictures, and have it right every time. If you ask neurotypical developer, they also might focus on the given specification, but that means, which is important, but they might miss innovative possibilities. Neurodivergence team members in an organization, they tend to notice hidden messages, like in market trends, in user behavior, in emerging technologies. While intense focus, like the unlucky participants in the study, is valuable. The ability to zoom out and see the bigger pictures is also crucial for innovation. And neurodivergent individuals often excel at shifting between hyperfocus and big picture thinking. I do believe that innovation can be maximized if these three elements are met or are fostered in a team or in an organization. And this is especially true for technological innovation. In an organization that has an innovation ecosystem where resources and support are available, like funding, inclusive environments without systemic barriers, ethical considerations like user engagement is an example of that, where every voice is being heard, where experimentation is valued, embracing failure, prototyping, positive mindset, believing that where there's a problem, there will be a solution. Organizations like that can be characterized as an innovation ecosystem. Then we'll have the strengths of the neurodiverse, which are unique perspectives, just different ways of looking at problems, pattern recognitions, like I showed earlier. Intense focus, someone will, with ADHD will seem like not be doing much and then finish everything and mobilize everybody in 16 hours before a project. Creative problem solving, divergent thinking, system thinking, like understanding complex relationships. Luck happens when there's opportunity, when there's preparation and open-mindedness. All of this needs psychological safety. No one is innovative when in survival mode. It also means mentorship. Having someone who believes in you. This is one thing that can predict the success of gifted children, for example, having an adult mentor. And also the collaboration. I mean, I do believe that innovation and progress are only possible while collaborating and working with other people. This is how it looks like. And I had psychological safety first, and risk-taking. This is also very, very typical for many neurodiverse people. Give you a moment to look at this. Right. Well, what does it mean? For creating inclusive tech environments and teams. See, I do have many messages here, which is a bit difficult for me. And this is one thing that I want to talk about later. Basically, creating inclusive tech environments means not trying to fix anybody. Allow team members to be authentic. I think this is the most important one. Otherwise, it will not work. People will just focus on compensating for their weaknesses. It's also true that the job descriptions, the interview processes, everything that neurodiverse people experience when they're trying to find their places in a team, they're often biased. I was at a training, a company that had developed a VR solution for training and for recruiting. And there you go like in this level of hell that's role playing. Yeah. And there will be an application that will look at the way at your body language, as the way you talk, at how often you say the word I versus the word we. All these things are not designed for neurodiverse people, so they don't really stand a chance. And then the only way to be successful and to be innovative is really to offer solutions for this population. I'm really convinced about that. We don't have that much time to go into detail. As a user of technology, I can tell you, someone who will be able to minimize not to have all these things that are popping up on my screens right now would be great. And what's important is the option to choose customizable sensory experience. People will have times when they need stimulation and times where they totally cannot work with it. So having the chance to choose is really the most important one here. And also something that's important for me and for all those with rejection sensitivity dysphoria, we were very sensitive to critique. All the confusing messages that we get from different products, like your password is weak, this will take a while. We do tend to think we've done something wrong. So there are very easy way to change those. Yeah, you may take a look at some solutions that and software that were designed with neurodiverse users and developers. They were involved in the design of all these products. These are just examples. They all implement universal and inclusive design principles. Assisted communication, friendship and dating apps, productivity apps, they all use the inputs and the insights from neurodiverse people. Just take a look and you'll see some very nice things that are useful for everybody. And this is what I wanted to give you today. That accessibility features should be implemented from the start and not as an afterthought. That diverse cognitive styles and needs should be considered, and that if you design for the spikes, think about the spectrum again, or things that are outside average. If you design for those, you will also address the core and reach many more people. Neurodiversity in tech teams will lead to more inclusive, innovative products. And it's not just ethical, but it's also a competitive advantage in the tech industry. And yeah, the key is to move away from deficit-based models of neurodiversity. Again, don't try to fix anybody, just accept people the way they are, and it will be great.